I was very worried going in. This show was originally meant to be 6 episodes, and it was also supposed to have a traditional weekly release schedule, but it was edited down to 5, and Disney decided to drop it all at once. So what was I supposed to think going in? But I ended up enjoying Echo well enough, despite quite a few glaring flaws. Superpowers. Without getting into spoilers, I'll say that I loved some of the camera work. Whether it be an establishing shot, a dialogue scene, or an incredible fight, when the cinematographers wanted to flex on us, they really did. However, this isn't true 100% of the time, except for the fight scenes. The stunt work throughout all 5 episodes is amazing. Some people take some genuine hits, and Alaqua Cox, who I assume is doing most, if not some of the stunt work, is fluid and fun to watch scrape and claw her way through these scenarios, though they definitely could have pushed that premise a considerable amount. Along with Maya, we have her sister, her grandma, her cousin, her grandpa, a roller rink guy. Jokes aside, I did like some of those characters. The best thing about this show is the way that they play with audio, cutting in and out to emphasize Maya's point of view. It isn't overdone, but instead used in key moments that compel the drama further than it would be without the sound editing. Another fantastic element, to a point, is the way Marvel implemented the Choctaw Native tribe, which is a real tribe that has a rich history as well as a mythology that is explored, again, to a point. Everything not including one aspect, superpowers, I thought was well handled. This show also highlights a further key component of Maya's character, her deafness. It isn't just the audio cutting in and out at critical moments in the show. Maya must communicate with every character through sign language, meaning that over 3/4 of the show is told through sign. Most of the time, I didn't even notice that it was a fundamental use of communication in this show, but certain conversations could have been sped up for dramatic value. As a complete narrative, I thought while there was a story to tell, I'm not sure this was the show that the filmmakers set out to make. There are 2 ways to look at it. One being the fun, naive route where you applaud the show for the end product that it is, or you look at the behind-the-scenes issues and wonder what was edited out. I wish I could be the first because I was constantly wondering what was missing, from snippets of conversations cut out to shorten the runtime to entire scenes. Without some of those moments, at the end of episode 3, I became worried that this show wasn't even going anywhere. But I felt like the finale, episode 5, managed to wrap things up in a well enough bow despite one detail. You get it. I'll give this show a pass, but it could have been something great. While I have many problems with its characters and story to tell, I did end up enjoying Echo, though that may have just been because of my low expectations. Alright, spoilers. So you better have seen the show or just don't care about spoilers. You now have been warned. I thought it was crazy how they brought Thanos into this. Nah, I'm kidding. But did anyone fall for it? But seriously, getting into spoilers, I genuinely loved opening this show, 20 minutes in, mind you, not the actual opening, with a stunning one-shot. Some stitches are better than others, but it was really fun to see. And the moment Daredevil dropped in, my jaw hit the floor. Not because he's a memorable character that I know and love, but because it made sense for him to be there. And they justified it even more by continuing his cameo with remarkable stunt and camera work. And remember how I said him being there made sense? It doesn't just make sense in the continuity of the show. Daredevil's appearance is there solely for Maya to prove herself as a valuable tool to Kingpin. Her defeating a bunch of no-name henchmen would have served the same purpose, but her going toe-to-toe with one of Kingpin's top thorns in his side is a much better version of that same narrative. Moving on to characters, I'll start with the best. It may have just been the actor, Graham Greene, but I also enjoyed seeing his character whenever he was on screen. He felt like the emotional rock of the show, helping and being of genuine service anytime he could. Unfortunately, he was a rare exception. Not that I didn't care about the other characters introduced in Echo, but throwaway moments that are also chopped down don't help the situation. The worst offender of this was Maya's sister, Bonnie. There is a scene early on where we are supposed to care that they are being separated as children, and I just didn't. I hoped that from there onward, they would establish that relationship beyond just telling me that they were sisters, but it is barely covered, if at all. By the time we get to the finale and Bonnie is used as a damsel in distress, I didn't care one bit about her or her significance to the protagonist of the show. And speaking of not caring for something, I was not a fan of the costume Maya got at the end. It's not like it was a travesty to film or anything. I just preferred the comic book accurate look she had for the majority of the show, which is the exact opposite emotional reaction I'm sure the filmmakers wanted the audience to have at that moment. That being that Maya had earned that suit. And before she gets the suit, it's really good. She has a scene with her mom where she gets to unload all of the baggage that she's been holding throughout the show. Unfortunately, this was all let down for me by two unignorable flaws. The first being that this show rarely gets time to breathe. Emotional moments like the one I mentioned before are cut down to essential pieces so that this product can be put out in the smallest package possible. Of course, it still makes narrative sense overall, but I feel like things were missing in this show, and it's hard not to wonder what could have been left on the cutting room floor. The second flaw, which may or may not be a hot take, I doubt it, is that this show would be significantly better without supernatural elements. While I'm still not sure exactly what her vague, glowy hand powers are, she has the ability to heal people and look into their mind. Maybe it was because I went in expecting a street-level story, but immediately I was thrown off by this trippy cave at the beginning of the first episode, and I didn't know what to think.
I know that a lot of the ancient supernatural story is interpreted from actual Choctaw legend, but they still could have focused on the real tribal police force, the Light Horses.
Necessary changes would have had to be made, including rewriting a lot of the final act of the finale, but I don't think a lot would even be affected by removing Maya's superpowers. We could have still explored her lineage with this tribal story, and have it tie in with family and their legacy being an echo in Maya's life, but just without any supernatural elements. If you still want scenes where Maya talks to her dead mother or goes inside Fisk's mind, make it metaphorical. Rather than be inspired by her newfound mystical abilities, the only thing that her superpowers did was take me right out of the story. Fortunately, the antagonist of the show was able to convey a sense of danger that I had been missing in my life for some time, that being Kingpin, and this was his official introduction to the MCU, even though I always consider the Netflix shows part of that universe. After getting unceremoniously shot in the head in Hawkeye, he's back with both eyes and only a few scars. Though if I'm honest, I'm not really mad about it, because he's back. And did they pad his suit, or is Vincent D'Onofrio really just that big? Because dang. I mean, they use camera tricks to make him look bigger, sometimes, but he looks massive. Getting into a specific scene, I'm torn that Fisk would need a tech contact to communicate with Maya. Maybe it's me, but I believe Fisk would learn sign language just so that he could further control his useful daughter. It does lead to a nice line about Maya calling him out for never learning it, and a pleasant moment where Fisk puts the contact on, and for a second you think he might be taking her eye for an eye style. With moments like that, I'm reminded of how he could always be more ruthless, and even though Maya is his adoptive father, he still could have gone much further with his intensity. Looking forward to the future, I enjoyed seeing Kingpin be the street-level crime boss that he was always meant to be, but even better than that, they tease that he will run for mayor. The amount of stories that they open up by him being mayor of New York are endless, and I cannot wait to see that. But that's all for a future review. Until then, make sure to like, subscribe, and enjoy a delicious sandwich.